And we are officially live. Hey everybody, my name is Wes.
And I'm Lori.
And Lori, we have our church finance Q&A. We're going to dive into all the stuff.
Okay, let's get our feet wet.
All right, you seem like very just like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I think it's just because there is this whole idea of this is happening live right now as we speak.
You never know what you're getting.
You never know what people are going to bring.
Yeah.
So this is wide open for any church accounting or giving questions. If it's not giving or accounting related, so not church finance related, we're not going to answer it. It's not because we don't like you. It's because we only want to talk about finance today. And Lori, we have a lot to cover because I know a lot of people are going to be asking questions all across the spectrum here. And before we dive in, a couple things I want to let everybody else know about. If you are not familiar with how we do things here at ChurchTrac and our live streams and all this fun stuff, our YouTube channel, we have so many great videos that we put on here. We have all these live streams we do, especially in the springtime. We're doing a live stream every week on different big features and Q&As. So definitely check out our YouTube channel to see all the things. And then Lori, tell them about our Facebook group that we've got.
Okay, so Wes, I have to tell you, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, but this week I actually went in and I was looking at our Facebook chats and the questions and our moderators. And I just have to do a shout out to Andy Lambert because my goodness, that man spends a lot of time helping our customers. And we are very grateful. But you guys ask amazing questions. If you're not part of our Facebook users group, this is a great opportunity for you to get some helps in ChurchTrac, but also in how to run your church. So it's kind of amazing and a very helpful tool. I learned things, so, how better do you get than that, Wes?
Yeah, it's a great resource. And then obviously our other big resource that we've got is our online user guide. In our online user guide, we have got everything you need. And Lori, just really quick, could you show everybody how to get to that online user guide?
So Wes, in the online user guide, and here he's going to test my computer skills. I've never done this in a chat before. There's an orange help in the upper right-hand corner of your software. And there you click and you get the opportunity from whatever screen you're in, Wes, you get to topics related to that screen, or you can go to show all help topics and you can search out your questions here using keywords. If you get into a pickle and you can't find what you're looking for, then you just go down here to this button and click contact support, and those tickets go directly to our support team, and we're always glad to help.
Awesome. All right. Well, Lori, let's go ahead. Here's what we're going to do, everybody. We're entering our time of Q&A. Now, this is different from the chat on YouTube. And by the way, if you're watching this in the future, hello, future, you can't participate right now, but you can obviously ask us a support ticket. But go ahead. We are transitioning to our Q&A mode here on YouTube. And in this Q&A mode, this is where you can start giving us all of your questions. Please don't do it in the chat just because it's very hard to manage the chat with all the people in there saying all the things. But focus your questions in that Q&A area so that way we can go ahead, see these questions individually. And what I'm going to ask my team to do is if my team can go ahead and start feeding me those questions.
Like
and
a
so
cookie.
That way we can go ahead and answer all these questions as they go. And so go ahead, start proposing all of your questions. And that way we can go ahead and start answering them live. Now, as these questions start flowing in, Lori, I want you, because this is the time of year you're getting so many questions. What are the top 3 questions that you have been seeing over and over and over again this past few weeks in January?
So far, I have seen, how do I record expense transactions?
Okay.
I've seen this multiple times. Guys, expense transactions always go through the accounting register. No matter what, Wes, expenses are in accounting. So if you don't have accounting, that's an add-on that you can add.
Okay.
And you can even do an accounting trial if you don't have access to that page. Another really good one that I have is their budget questions that are coming in. This is the time of the year, and we have lots of good questions about budgets. And contribution statements. We actually have a brand new user guide article that actually goes deep in detail as to how to set things up in your user guide and how to set up your contribution statement and where to do it and what even your user account privileges have to be able to do that. So lots of good things like that.
Okay. And what are 2 other big questions you've been getting asked?
Nothing like being put on the spot there.
I know.
Another really good question has to do with online giving. And one of the things that we have seen this week, just alone this week, has been that online giving comes in on the day that the contribution is given. It's very important to understand that you don't want to add manual entries into that online giving, because online giving is deposited via Stripe, not via the giving screen. So don't confuse those two. If you need to have two giving dates with the same date, that's okay. One of them is manually entered and the other one is online giving entry.
Cool. All right. Now, I think we have some people that are getting our chat and our Q&A confused. So I just want to give some guidance. On the top right corner, you see the live chat, and there's this little drop-down button. And when you select that, that gives you the option to go to questions. And there you can actually ask our team the questions. But we may end up just having to divert to the live chat here if people can't see that. I know we're using a little bit different of a platform we have in the past, and so people may not be used to that. And so if that's the case, it's not a big deal. We can always move towards our regular Q&A. And I'm seeing there, let's go ahead, let's do that. I'm going to jump into the live chat. So y'all just focus on the live chat. We're kind of doing a little bit something different. That's okay. We're learning. And the first question here that I see is, well, there's already tons in the chat. This is, so going through here, and I'm going to go ahead and focus on, sorry, there's a lot. There's a lot, so I'm going there. I may have to ask my team to just kind of help me here, because there are so many I'm sifting through. So Matt, if you could do that.
Matt's actually putting some questions in there.
Good, there we go, got them.
But the question is, are we able to differentiate the date a contribution is made versus when it gets deposited in the checking account? So that's a very, very, very good question. In the giving screen, when the entry is made in the giving screen, I'll just take it over there, maybe. When you go to add your contribution, you add it on the date the contribution was given, okay? Even if it's online giving, that online giving entry is going to come in on the date that the person donated. This is very important, because at the end of the month or at the end of the year, this can affect budgets. It can affect the contribution statement, that kind of thing. Then when it's deposited into the accounting screen, and you do this way, okay? Jamie Ableton gave $125. When you create that deposit, a pop-up comes up, says select my account. I put it in my checking. Try not to go too fast, because I do tend to do that. It says the deposit was created successfully. Where does that deposit go, Wes? That deposit goes in the accounting register in the checking account, because that's what I selected. And it goes in on the date I do it.
Yes.
Okay?
That's a big thing.
It is a big thing. But what if you don't go to the bank until Friday? You can actually go in and edit this entry so that it matches the date that you put the money in the bank, because that's going to match on your bank statement. Do not change the giving date. That's not how it works. We don't change the giving date.
Okay, so you can change the accounting date. That's okay, but you don't want to be changing your giving date.
Do not change the giving date.
Now, what about the amounts?
What do you mean?
Should someone change the amounts of that deposit ever?
No.
See, I'm asking because I know someone may be thinking this.
So when you deposit from the giving screen,
that's it.
That $125 was recorded. That little bubble, little flower with the check mark, it tells you that it has been deposited. When you go in here and you have an entry in here, if you go to the bank and you deposit more money than is in this deposit entry, that's okay, because it might be from rent, it might be from other things. You can edit that transaction and add to it.
Cool.
Do not take away from that, because you want your giving and your accounting to match. And I'm so afraid I'm going to bump this, but you want those to match like bookends. That's how you see things, and you keep track of things better.
Good stuff. All right, next question. Lori, rather than asking people to pledge a specific amount, what is the best way to give to a food drive or a big one-time purchase that can be separate in a budget? So I'll read it again. Rather than asking people to pledge to a specific amount, so asking people pledging to a specific amount, what is the best way to give to a food drive or a big one-time purchase that can be separate in the budget?
Okay, so you're actually talking about two separate things. You said giving and then you said budget. So this is where my confusion comes in. Are you budgeting designated contributions? So there's a little a conundrum there. A pledge campaign means this is our goal, this is where we want to hit, so we have people give towards that pledge campaign. But a budget means I've set aside this much money from my general fund, okay, to meet this goal. And that's the difference, Wes. So we have to answer one question and then address the other. So pledges, I can go in and I can say, okay, I don't want to necessarily set up a pledge campaign here, which you can do for a food drive or whatever, but say it's only for a small period of time. If you have a category that you want to set up for your food drive and people are going to give to that food drive, you can provide them a QR code for that. And that way they can give directly to that without having to pledge it. Okay. As far as budgeting for that goes, that's a designated contribution, and you don't typically put a designated contribution in your budget unless you're planning to help offset what doesn't come in with your general offerings.
Okay. That makes complete sense.
Okay.
All right. This was from Jerry Frazier. How do you set up two locations for similar reports, etc.? So how do you set up two locations for similar reports? She's thinking.
I don't think I understand that, because the reports are in. So are you saying two churches, two different church locations?
That may be what Jerry's asking. Jerry, could you do this? Could you just comment and let us know more detail on what that is, and then we could dive more into that.
Right.
The relationships, this is from Keith, the relationship of categories in giving and accounting.
This is actually a very good question, Wes, because when you set up, I'm going to defer to my giving tab and my giving categories. When you set up categories in the giving screen, typically these are income categories that you want people to contribute to, or that they can contribute to. These categories right here in this screen are shared in your accounting screen. So there's no differentiation between income categories in a giving and income categories in accounting. They're the same. It's the same setup. The difference is in accounting, Wes, I have properties in here where I can determine if it's an income or expense and set a default fund.
Yeah.
Contributions in the giving screen do not have funds associated with them because funds are only accounting.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, is when you're creating those categories in giving, it's always income.
Always
it's never an expense.
Correct.
You don't have the option unless you hop over to the accounting screen.
And then you make it, yeah.
And then again, you also don't want to be making an expense category be on your giving screen. So,
right.
Yeah. All right. Here is another good question. Let's see here. How do I convert double entry trial balance or
general ledger
to ChurchTrac category in fund accounting format?
So this is actually a very good question. So if you're doing general entry or you're doing trial balance, this is still, these are accounts, if you will, in QuickBooks, I couldn't come up with the word. These are your categories. So you want to set up your categories in your accounting register screen. Okay, so you set up your categories. Your funds are the buckets that this money is associated with. We do not have sub funds in ChurchTrac, so you're not going to be able to set up a sub fund. You would set up a parent category and subcategories here. Like, for example, missions income.
One level of nesting.
One level of nesting, but only in your categories. You don't do that in funds. Okay. Then you set up and have your default fund, which you just created, for your categories in ChurchTrac. Accounts in ChurchTrac are actually bank accounts. These are accounts that hold a balance somewhere, whether it's a credit card, whether it's a CD. It's a legitimate account that has money in it that has a balance.
All right. Next question. This is from, it looks like, the Ridley family. We are using giving and accounting subscriptions. Should we be creating deposits even if we sync our bank accounts?
This is another loaded question, Wes, because you know how I feel about
Lori's
bank sync.
face expression. Ooh.
So honestly, if you're using the giving screen, deposit from the giving screen. If you're using online giving, let those automatic deposits come into your checking account. Because when you sync, okay, those deposits can be skipped. But the details, Wes, you heard me say it a million times, the devil's in the details. The details from your giving entries, all this right here, comes into accounting when you actually create that deposit. If you're just dumping the money in from your bank account, the bank says, I don't know what you spent it for. I don't know what it came from. I don't care. They don't give you these details. So then you have to go figure it out. So why not just put it in to begin with?
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
And a lot of churches that I've worked with, they'll use those rules for the importing. And it makes life so much easier because then you can skip those transactions and everything and not have it muddy up all those transactions that you're trying to carry over. So you can actually keep all of that information from the giving screen over into the accounting screen to know all the information with the categories and stuff.
So what's really cool, Wes, is if you're doing your giving and you're detailing all those contributions out with your categories and you don't make that deposit, all those details are left in the giving screen because the only way giving and accounting talk is through that create deposit button.
Yeah.
Then you don't have your budgets updating. You don't have things working for you.
And just to really reinforce this, that giving screen, when you're on that giving screen and you go to a particular date. So Lori's shown on the giving screen here and whatever date she selects. And then we have the actions.
Of course we have one
where you can go ahead and create a deposit right from there. Like that's the key. And
that's
this is
the key.
This
right
is
there.
the thing. I can't tell you how many times I've had the conversation with churches where they're like, I don't understand why our checking account's going into the negative.
Right. They don't bother to put the money in the bank.
Exactly it. Yeah. It has to be able to have that deposit go over so that way your money carries over. Okay. This question, kind of a similar question we had earlier, but still in a way. All right. How do I differentiate sub-designated funds versus budgeted subcategories coming from QuickBooks?
Okay, so remember what I just said. There are no sub funds in ChurchTrac. So I understand where this confusion comes from. But in ChurchTrac, it's categories. So you would have a fund, like for example, your missions, and then you would have your subcategories here. Okay. The budget is going to be based on categories. So when you go in and you look at a budget, your budget, and we probably have tons of them, there are no funds in here. There are monies that are delineated by entries. Okay, this is your budget money. This is what you received. This is the difference. There are categories. These are for your designations.
Yeah.
Or the labels, if you will.
That's what they are, the labels.
But the budget is not based on a fund except for your general fund. These will be your general expenses and your general income. If you need to set up a budget for designated monies, you're not budgeting how much is coming in. You're only budgeting the expenses.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. All right. Next question, Lori. And this is regarding income reflected on your monthly budget. So why isn't all of our income reflected on the monthly budget analysis report for the year? So we're still on budgets here.
Okay, so this is actually a very good question. This is a legitimate question that a lot of our customers have because what they don't understand is, again, your designated giving is not budgeted. I can't look at the church and say, you're going to give $15,000 this year for missions. I can only budget how much our church plans to spend for missions. So in this question, it's actually really cool because it's special offerings, oil royalties, rent, that kind of thing.
Oil royalties, man, that's
great. They must be in Texas. I like it. But rent, if you know that somebody is actually renting your facility and they're going to be there because they have a lease for a year, you can budget that. That's general fund. And that's money that's coming in to maintain that facility as they're renting it. But things that have variables that you don't know, or that is put aside and designated, if you will, for something else, you can't really create a budget for that, and you can't include that in your budget because it's not part of your general expenses. You can't just spend that money. It has something and a purpose that it's set aside for.
And I think this is kind of off on a tangent, but still fully relevant.
Okay.
There are situations where I've worked with churches where they have a pretty substantial business running out of the church,
Correct.
like a daycare or something. And those are sometimes situations where the church really needs to be having a separate ChurchTrac account to manage that
Right.
because of the nature. Because even though ChurchTrac is designed to do so much and our accounting program is very powerful, the way it's set up as intended, once you start adding in all these other income streams
Right.
and everything, it does muddy the waters.
It muddies the waters quite a bit. That delineation can't happen because in ChurchTrac, you're not actually tracking money per bank account. You're tracking money via your categories and your funds. So if you don't want that money intermingled, you can't use that for effectively unless you're an extremely detail-oriented individual, because I have seen it done.
Yeah, I've worked with churches that have had like a daycare, a coffee shop they were running in tandem, and they kept it all. But it just comes down to their flow and how they keep all that, the details.
The devil's in the details.
All right, this is from, it looks like Gregory. We just set up accounting in ChurchTrac. Nice. And we have successfully linked our bank account. Cool. Checking and credit cards. But when I tried to sync from earlier this month, it doesn't update new transactions.
Yep, probably. Honestly.
Oh, and why is that, Lori?
It's honestly what ChurchTrac gets is only what the bank provides to Stripe, which is your intercessor, if you will. So if the bank doesn't provide that data, or it may not be available at your bank yet, you can't bring in that data. So when that sync happens, it's only bringing in the amount of information that is provided by the bank. So unfortunately, we're just the end point. We don't have any control over the other content. However, be sure if you're doing this, and I know you're going to think I'm crazy when I say this, Wes, but in that sync window, well, this is probably fair. In that sync window, there's an option to select a date. So it gives you a date, and then it says, or select a date. If you select the date and go back, okay, it may give you more information. I did have a customer that had this problem, and the bank linking and syncing, Wes, it happens intermittently. We have zero control.
It's super dependent on your bank, because I encountered this with a few different banks that I've used, where one bank I was able to get it to go back, I think it was 90 days.
Yeah.
And then another bank I used, it was only going to go back 60 days. And I guess it was just part of the limitation of some of the bank. And
some of them only go back to the last reporting period. So if your bank statement period ended, they may not provide you that content. They may say, okay, we're in the statement time and we're only going to give you back to here. So it's super dependent on your bank and the structure that they use.
Now, I will say this, and Lori will show it off in the accounting screen, but if BankSync for your church is not working as well as you'd like it to work, I mean, obviously there could be a multitude of reasons for that, and so oftentimes it is the bank that is the issue. The import button there on your account that you're on, you select that import button, and then you have the ability to import directly from your bank, so you can upload that file. And this is so great because at the end of the day, it's only an additional click to get there, and then you just drag and drop.
It's the exact same content, Wes. Yeah. As for the years that we've been doing this, and I've had to talk to customers, and they've said, you know, this is the determining factor. Well, honestly, it's the exact same content. The verbiage in the actual line items is exactly the same from a sync to an import. One extra click, you can run your rules. I love the rules, Wes.
Yeah, and it's bringing it to the same area. So whether you're using BankSync or import, it's the same holding area. It's the same rules you can apply. It's just the fact that you may have one additional click with the importing here. That's it.
So you said something key. You asked earlier what kind of questions we get, but we have had customers that say, I synced and nothing came into my accounting register. That is because the sync window, okay, it's a transactions review window. So everything will come here, Wes, into this window. And then you update your transactions, you run your rules against them, that kind of thing. And then you actually tell it to go in and upload and go to the window. You get another option in here when you
we didn't have a way to show this on live air just because you don't want to show real people's banking data.
Yeah, but then it lets you switch it. So once everything is ready, it goes into the transaction register and updates automatically. That's when you'll see those transactions.
All right. This is from the Bridge in Church Savannah, Georgia. If you have reconciled your accounts for the year, but don't have a beginning balance for the new year, what do you do, especially for reports?
Well, this is a very good question. But honestly, if you've reconciled, you do have a beginning balance. You know what your beginning balance is? Your ending balance from your last reconciliation. Because in ChurchTrac, everything just rolls. It's not dependent on a date range. Only your reports are dependent on a date range. So your bank account does not change. If you ended with $12,536.12, in December, your January starting date amount should be the exact same amount.
And if it's not the same amount, someone's stealing from your church. Let's see here. That was a good question. And I think that question, especially like in December, we get asked that one so much.
Lot.
And I think it's just because people are used to different types of programs that may operate a little differently. But the way we do it is kind of the standard way of that. All right. This one's from, since we already answered that one, this one's from Patty. Is there a way to change the payee after reconciling the bank statement? Ooh, I like this question. I tried to edit one and received a message saying the payee cannot be changed without reversing the reconciliation.
Well, and that's intentional, Wes, because you don't want to go back and change your records after the fact. The only thing that is editable, I have a hard time with that word, editable, is the category in the fund. The amount can't be changed, the payee can't be changed. And that's intentional. If you need to change something, you need to unreconcile. You need to go up all the way back to that date range, okay? Because you reconcile in 30-day increments. So if you have to go back to May to change something, it may be you just want to add a memo to that transaction, or you need to unreconcile, go back to May, fix it, and then re-reconcile.
Yeah, and if you're in a situation like, let's say, here's a good example. This is a real example of the church I've worked with in the past. They had a lawn care business that has done their church lawn for years. And then somewhere along the way throughout the year, that lawn care business actually changed their name. They did a rebrand and everything. And so all those transactions leading up to that were under that old business.
Right.
And so this is a prime example of like a really good example in which you don't want to change it because that business was a completely different name up until that point.
Yep.
And now it's a different name. So now you have to create a new payee for them and start leveraging that new payee, which kind of gets a little hairy when you're trying to report the end of the year. And that means you're going to have to combine those payees.
For your 1099s and that kind of thing. But that's okay because that's actually providing the right paper trail and the right line of thinking for being able to provide all that documentation. Remember, the devil is in the details.
Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity since we're just kind of midway through here a little bit, just to reinforce that, at the end of the day, this is all educational, where everything we're providing to help you leverage ChurchTrac to be able to track your giving and your accounting. But when it comes to like the real big things of like, is this legal? Is this not legal? Should I be moving my money over to this area? And so that's when you really need to be talking to the professionals because they're the ones that are going to help keep your church legal. That's just out of our depth here. We're focused on how you use the software to record all the things and stuff, not what you should actually be doing in those situations. All right. This one is from, I'm having a hard time reading it, so I'll just say the question. I'm wanting our giving and accounting to match like bookends, just as you said. We just linked our bank account with the account that was made in the accounting. However, not all the transactions are showing up, even though I've repeatedly synced it from dates up to the last year. How do I fix this, Lori?
This is where that manual entry comes in. If you know that there are transactions that have maybe not cleared the bank or have cleared the bank, it's always a good idea just to enter the transactions in your accounting register. Wes, you and I go back and forth on this one. But this register here is for your records. It is how you track your money. Because in reality, Wes, if you go in here and you don't have your transactions entered and you're depending on the bank to provide you that information, what comes from the bank is only what has cleared the bank, not what's outstanding. And so true bookkeeping allows you to see what's outstanding, what's cleared, and keep a running balance. And that's where this register comes in.
Well, I think this is a really good opportunity just to kind of glean the insight because there are a lot of people watching right now that are like, I'm new to being a treasurer, and this is something that I was voluntold to do in many cases. And so just to really encourage you here, first and foremost, for those of you who got voluntold, and this is all new to you, I just want to say thank you for doing this service for your church, because this is probably, let's be honest, the worship leader, like me as a worship leader being on stage and stuff, everyone it's like, oh, you did so great. No one ever thanks the treasurer. Hey, thank you for keeping the doors open in the church.
Thank you for heat.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, especially in the winter time. So thank you first and foremost. But I just want to encourage you all, this is a lot to learn. And one of the big things that a lot of new treasurers do learn is that this is just wildly different from your personal bookkeeping.
Wildly.
And when it comes to for example, my finances, whenever I'm managing my finances, I've used apps in the past, and they bring in all the things from the bank and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's all well and good for personal finances. But when we get into the realm of church finances, that's not a place where we just lean on the bank to tell us what's up. We actually need to be proactive in entering all the things.
If you write the check, you put it in your checkbook register. If you pay the electric bill online, you put it in your checkbook register. You do not depend on the bank to give you the information of when something is cleared. That is what reconciliation is for. But you always want a running total. And this is our fake account. And so there are not real numbers in here. And it would be great if churches did have these kind of numbers, but in a lot of times they're running very close and they don't have this flexibility. Yeah. So keeping track of what is actually coming in and going out is critical in your bank account.
All right. I see a question here. This is from John, and John's asking, can you explain how to read the balance sheet? I have credit card liability set up and the fund totals seem to totalize for most months and show the same outstanding balance each month. Is that something we can show, or is that something we may need to look more specifically at John's account?
Well, we'll play with what we have and see if I can give John a good example. So John, in ChurchTrac, if you're looking at your accounting screen, okay, from the accounting tab, you have your accounts listed here, you have your credit card, and then you have your fund balances. Funds do not have to coincide with an account, because accounts can have multiple funds within them. So when you're looking at your funds and your account balances, they should totalize, as you said. But that doesn't mean that everything is going to be exactly the same every month. The balance sheet doesn't tell you activity of what happened during the course of that time. It only tells you from the beginning of time to a set end date. So if it doesn't change much, that probably means your finances are pretty stable, and comings and goings of your money is about the same. But the details, Wes, are going to be found in your income statement. So if I go back and I just put in...
And I do want to stress the income statement is what so many people call the profit and loss that are coming from QuickBooks land.
Okay. This is what's going to tell you how much money came in per fund. It's also going to tell you every label or category that money was spent or used in, and every fund that it came out of or went into with your totals. This is the report that's going to give you those details, John.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Now, this next question, Lori, this was from Jerry a little earlier, and we asking Jerry to give some more detail, and Jerry gave us those details.
Gotcha.
So Jerry said 2 locations. Location number 1 is the main church. Location number 2, the chapel. We use a single account for income and expenses, but we want separate reports. Do we have to open a separate checking account?
Remember what I said earlier, Wes. We don't actually have checking account reports. Mm-hmm. So in reality, John.
Yeah, it was John asking or Jerry.
Jerry. If you need to track income and expenses for the church, the main church, and you need to track income and expenses for the chapel, you have to have 2 separate ChurchTrac accounts, because the categories and funds are shared unless you have a set of categories specifically for the main church and a set of categories specifically for the chapel. In that case, you could use a fund for main church and a fund for chapel.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any designations or anything. It would just be that. And you could use the search feature in ChurchTrac for one bank account.
Okay.
And that search feature would allow you to search by fund here, where you could use a main church or chapel. That would be the only way that you could effectively have separate reporting.
And Jerry, I do want to let you know that this search feature, and this is actually for everybody watching.
This is also account specific too.
This search feature is how we in the support team find the issues that are happening at a church when they reach out to us for support. We use the search feature in their account to find the issue.
We absolutely do.
So yeah, that's kind of neat to know that the power that we have is actually the same power you have. It's right there for you. All right, next questions as we kind of fly through here. Going back to that one. So we got through that one. All right, going back to, this is from Riley Family, going back to online giving deposits. If we deposit from the giving entry, how do we reconcile the imported transaction in the checking account? I'm concerned about duplicate deposits. I would be too. You don't want duplicate deposits.
So I actually can't show you this on screen, Wes, because we don't have online giving associated with this account.
Yeah, it's a test account, so we can't show that.
So when you have an online giving and you go to the actions button and you create the deposit, there's actually a slider that comes out from the right, and it allows you to select the default account that you want your money to go into, your default fee category for your online giving fees, and it actually has a little checkbox for automating your deposits.
Can you show that user guide article? Because I think this is super valuable.
This is where you get me.
And I love this because
Let's
you can just
see.
search automatic and you'll find it, because I just searched this one the other day, Lori.
You said automatic?
Yeah, automatic, and it's going to pull up. So automatic online giving deposits.
This is
We
a
have
lovely
a whole
article.
and a video from Matt. Thank you, Matt, for this video. But yeah, and it walks you through creating the deposit and everything.
So you have to click the create deposit button. But then this window, this is a lovely window. So
Zoom in just so they can see that a little more, Lori. Can you pinch on that? There you go.
So this little guy right here determines that your deposits or your payouts, this is the key word for Stripe, is your payout. When the payout is prepared, okay, on the Stripe side, and it comes back into ChurchTrac, that little checkbox right there that you see, that determines that it updates your accounting screen. So all the details from online giving come automatically into your check register via that button right there. It just happens. That Stripe payout and that checkbook entry are exactly the same.
Yeah.
So when you sync, again, I don't agree with just dumping everything in there, but let's say you do, you can skip the bank entry because it doesn't have the details in it.
Yeah.
And then you have all the right information in your bank account in ChurchTrac without having to update anything, and you don't get duplicates. This is a rule you can set.
Yeah, and this is probably, I would say, the most common rule we see, just because so many churches are leveraging that. And it was funny, a little earlier, I was talking about being voluntold, Lori, because there's so many.
Do you have a voluntold in here?
Yeah, and it was, I think it was Elise was just saying, hey, I was voluntold, beginner of it. And Elise gave a little shout out to Carrie, one of our support people who's been working with Elise. And so, yeah, I think this is a really good opportunity for us to mention two things. Number one, like our support team, like it's not just these Q&As we do and that's it. Like our support team is readily available all the time except for when we're sleeping. And then we'll answer you the next day.
Right.
But just create a support ticket. Let us know if there's something you need assistance with. And also the big thing too is when you're setting up your accounting for the first time, we do want you to reach out to us and have us look at it. That's actually one of the steps. Lori, you show them on the user guide. Like we've got this whole setting up accounting article, which you created the video for this one, if I do recall. You're in so many of these videos. I'm starting to forget. But yeah, we have I love this search bar because you can search anything. So setting up accounting, And there's our setting up accounting article right there.
Oh, look, it is me.
And so, yeah, if you haven't done this yet, like if you are new and you're just kind of watching this Q&A as you learn the stuff, this article right here, submit an accounting review ticket. That's the last step of setting up accounting. So definitely submit account review ticket. And I do just want to throw that out there. We had this want us to set up your accounting right there. Lori, if you could show that real fast. Scroll down just a hair and you can see it. But yeah, there it is. We have this this thing called Class, and we call this our ChurchTrac limited accounting setup. And we offer this to church leaders that are really in one of two camps. This is the church leader that's in the camp of, hey, Wes, I know nothing about all this bookkeeping stuff, and I would feel more comfortable if y'all set this up for me so that way I can hit the ground running. And this is also great for the church leaders that are like, hey, Wes, I don't have time to set up all these things, and I know that it may take me 5 hours to set all this up for the first time, and I know your team can do this much faster. Can you just do this for me? So that's for the church leader that wants to either kind of like pass go, collect that $200. Well, in this case, it pay us money and not that. But yeah, that's a really great option.
But it's a service that's really worth it, Wes, because we ask probing questions that help give you the best setup and give you the best foundation for moving forward with not only accounting, but for your giving too, because we're setting up your categories for you, all of your income and all of your expenses.
And it's way cheaper than hiring a CPA to set up your accounting, because that's kind of like the weird in between. Like there are questions you do want to ask a CPA or someone who's a professional that can help guide your ministry.
Right.
And then there are questions that you really just want to ask someone like us and have someone like us handled, because that's not to that pay grade,
right.
I guess, if you will.
You shouldn't have to pay that kind of money just to know if I need to create a contribution statement or not.
Yeah, stuff like that. So that's a great resource to have. All right, kind of keep flying through here. So many good questions. People keep bringing us your questions. That's what we're here for. So this is Barbara. I'm the church treasurer, and as of April of 2025, I've never used the giving option since our church has started ChurchTrac. Do we need to start using the giving option?
Well, I would definitely say yes, because while you may not have contributors that are going to reach that tax deductible phase, where, if you're not taking the standard deduction and you're itemizing, it's going to benefit you, but you also may. So the IRS says, the government says that you do need to provide something to them, and people will ask for it because if nothing else, they're used to that. Okay. Because years ago, especially in my youth, that was a requirement. You had to provide that. Ever since I've been going to church and donating, I have. So this also actually helps you track how those contributions are being labeled. Okay. So when you're entering the contribution, you're saying Jamie Ableton, she gave $125, but this is general offerings. But what happens if Jamie said, I want $50 to go to the missions and I want $75 to go to the children's ministry, and I'm not using general offerings? These details come in here and can be entered in here and then just dropped into the accounting register based on your giving dates. And I know some people say, well, we only go to the bank twice a month. Well, that's fine. Remember what I said. You can do the deposits and then go back and change the date to the deposit date that it happened. But that doesn't change the details.
Yeah. And the details are a super important thing when it comes to running a church and being transparent with the finances, which is a huge, huge thing. We've seen so many things off camera as of late that really reinforce the need for transparency, not only in the church's accounting, but in the giving, and just making sure that we show our members and the people who are donating to the church and the ministry at hand, just like what we're doing and like why we're doing it. And so that's why it's so helpful to have a system like this that helps you with that. All right. All right, this is a question here. It looks like from Princess Rivera. Sometimes when you import from the bank, it does not give specifics on who wrote the checks or cash. So is that wise? Yeah, this is
exactly why you use the giving screen.
Yeah, and because that is the challenge with working. If you are going to solely lean on BankSync or the import feature for them to provide everything for you, you're not going to have the details you need, and so then you have no idea who has given what to you. And also, as you get larger in your ministry, because this is the other crazy thing that happens, is you have people with the same name that are donating to your church. And so then you have like the bank showing this transaction of, Jonathan Smith. And it's like, well, we have two Jonathan Smiths at our church.
Which one?
Which one was this? So being able to go on the giving screen and say, well, this Jonathan Smith with this email address and this member number gave this much, whereas this one gave this much.
That's, again, where this giving screen is, because when you go to add contributions, just like here in the giving screen that I'm in, say, Wes, you gave a very good example, giving number. So if I go in here, I can't type, and I put their member number in or their envelope number, that automatically populates a name for me that I can grab and then put the amount in. So there is a certain level of anonymity with that too, but I didn't just confuse Jamie Ableton and Jamie's daughter, Jamie.
Yeah.
Jamie Jr.
Jamie Jr.
with each other, because each one has their own number or their own name or whatever. True story, at one time at our church, we had 3 Lori's. And we had 5 Cindy's.
Oh, that's not confusing at all.
Not confusing at all. So the guy that was actually subbing our music at the time actually gave us our initials. He used our initials.
Yeah.
So I always went by LT. That was how I got identified at church, because my Lori actually went out the window.
Yeah, and and I think that the member numbers are so key for a lot of churches, and just the emails and being able to match them up properly. Okay, now we're going through so many good questions here. It looks like we've got a question from Andrew. Andrew says, looking to switch to this for our church. We have 5 different accounts for 5 different ministries in our church. How can we do this with ChurchTrac?
Well, that's a very good question, Andrew. So in ChurchTrac, because you have the ability to set up these funds, you don't have to have so many bank accounts. I know last week when we were talking, you gave an example of a church that had lots of accounts, and they were able to shrink their accounts down because they didn't have to have an account for every ministry. They were able to set up a fund for every ministry and track it within the bank account. Yeah. That's actually very cool, and it's a great way to do this. It makes it simpler. So what you would have is you would have your categories set for your missions account or your children's ministry account, and these would also have, notice here I have children's ministry expense and income. These would actually be the categories and funds that you would be using to track those without having to have a children's ministry bank account.
Yeah. And I think this is a good opportunity, just because so many people come from programs like a QuickBooks that have a chart of accounts, that in ChurchTrac, there is no chart of accounts.
There is
not. Your categories is kind of the apples to apples comparison here. And so those categories are really doing the heavy lifting of saying what this is going to or coming from with your income and your expenses. And so we see churches all the time where they may have just one checking, one savings, maybe like a money market account.
And they might have 8
a
funds.
Credit card, yeah, but then they have the funds. The big thing I always encourage churches, like once you get past about 7 or 8 funds, it's always good just to reevaluate, because let me give you a really good example, Lori. Having multiple different types of mission funds, it's kind of unnecessary.
It's very unnecessary.
You really only need one missions fund, and then within that missions fund, you can delineate all of your income and your expenses. So if you have different types of incomes for your local missions, but then maybe you do a special missions in
Foreign
Uganda,
missions.
then you have a special missions that's in, wherever, all these different places. It's all with the categories is how you do that.
Now, and the funds. So I want it to actually, because in my brain, the logical thinking goes, well, how do I track that then? If I'm only using one bank account, how do I know? Well, you have reports that allow you to do this. So the balance sheet report, let me get a wider date range only because this is
I don't know how much data you'll be able to pull from that in this account.
It's a good amount of data here. So note the funds, Wes. So this is your checking account, but I have a general fund, a youth ministry fund, a missions fund, a children's ministry. So I see the running balances here. I also have a savings account that also have these monies in them for these funds. So then I can see my total assets here with my net position, which happens to match. Okay. And then my liabilities, this would be my credit card. So I know that I've got a negative amount, and this money's all been spent from the general fund. So again, you're able to track your fund balances, There are several different reports for this. There's the fund sheet. So if you wanted to pick a singular fund to work for, you could have the same information. Then there is your fund statement, which runs like your income statement per fund.
Yeah. I think this is a good opportunity to mention in I believe it's our Getting Started article or it's our terminology article. So on our user guide, Lori's going to show this off because this is such a great visual that helped me. So if you go back, Lori.
Are you talking about our...
Yeah, go back to our main accounting and budgets page, and we have a whole article dedicated towards the terminologies. Maybe it's under Getting Started or Setting Up. Maybe it's there. Sorry, I'm forgetting where different things are. Go to Setting Up Accounting, because I remember this being here. I looked at this. It was under Setting Up Accounting. And then as you scroll down a little bit, there's this whole... Almost there. Almost there. There it is. I thought it was. Oh, man. We'll have to find this later. But we have this really great chart that actually shows off.
I know what you want.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you want.
And our team is knocking on the wall. They're like, Wes, you know where it's at.
It's not in this article, though.
It's in. We have a great article about it. My team's going to send it to me in the chat, and then, there it is.
How do you know
Lori,
where it is?
it's in our chat. Go ahead and click that, or just copy that link. It's under our terminology and
there
examples.
It is.
Let's see if she can get it pulled up. There it is. Oh,
Thank
goodness.
you, Matt.
Our team's laughing at us like it's right there the whole time. But scroll down, Lori. We have this visual. I am hyper visual when it comes to learning things, and this really helped me. And she'll zoom in on that so everybody can see that. This really does a great job of just showing in ChurchTrac the relationship between your funds and your accounts. And you can see really easily how that general fund, it can be spread across all three accounts, but then your missions fund, you may have that spread across your savings and your checking account. Building fund may be in the savings and credit card. It really just comes down to how your church operates. But
how your church operates.
I love that. That helps me out a lot.
KO.
All right, and our team's just laughing at us like, do you not know how to... All right, so
No,
anyways.
I really don't. So y'all put me in front of this computer for this thing. So we're playing.
Let's see here. All right, this one, I think it's from... I can't even read now just because my eyes are failing me at this point of the day. How do I enter individual payment for training without showing the payment as an income?
Can you show me where you're at and I'll help read you this?
Let's see. So how do I enter individual payment for training without showing that the payment is an income? And it looks like it's from Michelle. So
if I understand what you're trying to do, you just want to practice, okay? And I do this all the time when I'm helping people out in their accounts. I make all these test transactions, but they're good references as you are learning the program. So what I typically do... how do I get there? I go there into my accounts. And this is going to affect your balance, but don't freak out because it's deletable. I mean, it's temporary, but you just go into the bottom and then you add your transaction. You do fill it all out. You can do a deposit. Now I'm going to show off our pretty transactions. You can do an expense, you can do a deposit, you can do an account-to-account transfer, but you have to learn how these work. And the only way you're going to learn how they work is if you play with them. You just call it a test transaction in your payee, and this is how I do it. I just put test, and this way I know, Wes, I can delete this and it's not going to affect anything. Put whatever amount you want in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah, blah, blah. That's how you practice. You learn it, you test it, you try it. And then when you're done and you feel confident about how it looks and what it's doing, you delete it.
Yeah. And I've seen some churches, Lori, they'll create an account in ChurchTrac.
Mm-hmm. A test account altogether.
Yeah, it's just a test account and they make it very obvious so they can play around with it. It's not uncommon for me to see that. This is from Patty. Can you please elaborate on your previous comment about the import rules related to creating deposits from the giving and pledge tab and those amounts coming in from the bank? I meant to add my previous comment about import rules. Can we create an import rule for deposits coming in to be flagged? Is there an identical deposit? So this is a pretty substantial question here with multiple parts.
So import rules they're not about what you're doing from giving to accounting. They're only about what you're doing from your bank sync option or your import. So when you set up your import rules, you have the ability to add rules based on many different criteria. So you can tell the system to skip if a payee contains whatever. You type it there, you type the value, automatically skip this transaction, and then or change the payee if you want to keep it, set it to a fund, blah, blah, blah. These are your options here. But if you want it to skip, say, a deposit, okay, so you can do an amount, you can do a payee, whether it contains or equals. So if you want it to be extremely specific, but you could put online giving or Stripe. If it contains the value of Stripe, you can tell it to skip that transaction, and that way it's not automatically doing that.
All right. Jessica. Sometimes matching giving deposit and Stripe deposit on the accounting side is tricky, as there are multiple deposits in the same account, and there's no reference back to the giving side like the date.
So, Jessica, the key here is not to depend on your giving screen dates matching your accounting deposit payouts. This is not going to happen. Banks, whether you're using ACH or credit card, they run their own schedules. They do not deposit. Like if you have a giving date of, what's today's date? If you have a giving date on January 21st and 5 people donate today, but 3 are ACH and 2 are credit card, your credit card deposit's going to be ready in 2 to 3 days. Your ACH deposit is not going to be ready to be paid out for 5 to 7 business days. So the difference here is how they're giving and how the banks pay out. The details in those payouts can be found in your Stripe account. So if you're concerned that the information that's coming in doesn't match the information that you already have, you can go into Stripe and you can look at those payouts, scroll all the way down to the bottom of a payout when you open it up, and it'll tell you the name of the person who gave and how much they gave, and how much that online giving fee was. So you can see those details, and you will learn to trust the program.
Cool. All right. Question here. Looks like from Schilling. Where is the best place to see contributions coming into a given fund per the giving screen? Our givers give to a variety of funds, but not enough to missions, so we transfer from the general giving.
So I'm going to ask for some clarity here, because you're using the term funds, but as stated earlier, giving is only for categories. Mm-hmm. So if you're not using the accounting portion of the software, you won't have a fund associated with your category. So you need to be able to look at the labels and see if you are using accounting and you're creating those deposits, okay, the designations will show in your giving screen deposits. Let's see, there's a multiple category one right here. And this is a great example. That was completely by accident. So I have $250 given to general offerings, general fund, and I have $1,000 given to missions income for the missions fund. If you are having to offset designated contributions by using your general fund money, that's fine. There should be a budgeted amount for your general fund if your church commits to a certain amount for missions. You don't have to depend on those designated contributions for that money. The designated contributions would be the offset of that budgetary amount. Does that make sense, Wes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rachel is saying, I have my Zoom call tomorrow about a financial review. Very excited.
Woot, woot.
Awesome. Yeah. Our support team, I mean, that's one of our favorite things, is to do that. It's just great. I love being able to catch things early on too.
Oh my gosh.
I hate to see when a church, like, they were following our instructions in our user guide, but they missed one thing and just didn't realize it. And then they go 6 months of doing something wrong. And then like we discover it after 6 months of all these reconciled transactions and everything. It's the worst. And so by us looking at your accounts and stuff at the very beginning, it just makes life easier. It's what we're here for. All right. This is from, I can't read the name, but I'm the church treasurer, newly assigned. And last year, the contributions was not put in a ChurchTrac on a regular basis. That scares me. So like some were, some weren't. I would like the accounts and I would like to the accounts and streamline our finances. How do I reconcile do this. This is one of the situations. Please reach out to us. Let's look at your account. Just because it's hard to like give you a recommendation on live air and something when we don't know the full story in that situation, and especially just if you're missing things and stuff. The last thing we want to do is start reconciling all the things and stuff if things aren't done the right way to begin with. Let's see here. Is there a way on the budget report to show percentages?
Well, not exactly. On the budget reports themselves. There are budget reports that do give information like this, but it's not a percentage per se. Did I break it?
No, I think this room, sometimes the internet's slow in here, so it takes it a second.
So percentages are not really an option here, Wes, but you can get a budget versus actual report. I love this report. This is actually one of my favorites because I nerd out on numbers. You know that.
Yeah.
But the budget versus actual tells me this is what amount was budgeted, this is what was received, and this is the difference. The key to using this report is having your date range set here. Okay. So right now we're only in January, but say this budget went from September to August. Okay. So if I was showing January on a budget that went September to August, it would give me more information. These compound. So you're not going to have in February, your budget doubles. In March, it triples, so on and so forth. So you're going to be able to see where you are in the budget, regardless of whether you see a percentage or not, you're going to know. I don't have the ability to give you a percentage.
Yeah. All right. This is a question. So from Riley family, the sink has made our accounting a mess. Oh no. So we were planning on submitting a do-over ticket, but would like to determine if we should use the class service as well. And that's definitely like our team's not we don't give people like money, by the way, like, oh, if you get a class, you get a kickback. We don't do any of that. But we will look at it and we'll give you an honest recommendation if we think that you just need to go ahead and have us do a class with you to knock this out, because obviously there is that fine line between us doing the work for you and us helping you do the work. And if we do enter that realm where like we're just having to do all the work for you, then they may recommend a class for you. But yeah, just reach out to us and we'll let you know.
Please. That's a support ticket where we can definitely go over your information and tell you what you need to do to make it better.
This is a question. If possible, please provide an example of a pass-through transaction. Love it.
Okay. So basically a pass-through transaction means I have the love offering, Wes, is my favorite example of this. Okay. You have a visiting pastor or you have a music ministry that comes through and you pass the offering plate, people donate, and that money goes to the church and then is counted and then put out to those people. So in this example, what I would do, okay, is enter the deposit. Okay, it's an offering plate, so you're just counting money. Put the deposit into the bank. So in that case, it's a deposit transaction. You use. I'm assuming we have a love offering category here.
Yeah.
You put the date, the reference, the payee description, and the amount. Okay, you save it. Save a new, because now I'm going to write a check to the same people. Okay, so then I come in here and I have an expense transaction. Reference, payee, this is for whatever. Still the same love offering, still the same general fund. Put the exact amount that you are passing through in the transaction. Put a note on it.
Yep.
This is the best part. This note is for internal stuff. This was for visiting pastor so-and-so, missionary so-and-so, whatever. Okay? You can memo it. That actually prints on the check that you're writing. Put a tag on here because love offerings are general.
No, in a love offering situation, do you have a love offering category of love offering income, love offering expense?
This is a pass-through.
So that's how you would treat that.
Yep. Same path. Because the church doesn't get to use this money. This money came in for a purpose and it's going out for a purpose. Okay. And it's the exact same amount to the penny usually.
And that's the reason I asked that, is just because I get that question all the time. So I wanted you to kind of just set the record straight there with that one. Okay, let's see here. We've got a few other questions. And I don't know if you guys have already said this. Would you recommend setting up the accounting portion in ChurchTrac? We do use it for online giving. I'm new to church finances. So yes, we would.
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's if you're already using, this is the big thing, and we see this all the time. churches that are using a lot of different tools to do so many different things. And we will never make the claim that we do everything the best in the entire world. Like no company can do everything the best, but there's something to be said about a platform that can do pretty much everything your church needs to do.
Yes,
and
sir.
so if you're able to consolidate, that's just a great thing for your church, because we see so many churches, Lori, where they're paying MailChimp to send out their emails, and it sends beautiful emails and stuff, but then they're paying another company to do their giving. Then they're paying QuickBooks, and then they're paying for Squarespace to have a church website. But then they're paying this other platform to send out mass text. Whereas we do all these things here at ChurchTrac, and we do them really well.
We do.
And so being able to bring it all in one platform, and accounting's a big one, just because we see so many churches that are spending anywhere from $50 to $100 a month for an accounting program, when you can add on accounting with ChurchTrac for only $15 a month. So much more cost effective, and it's also built in. It talks to the giving screen, just makes life easier.
So one of the things that I see and support all the time, Wes, is that our customers use all these external, giving platforms. The interesting thing is we have such an amazing rate. Okay.
Yes.
And our platform allows this constant communication from giving to accounting, as we showed you, automatically. And the biggest pushback that we get from our customers is, well, I don't want to interrupt my givers because I'm afraid they won't set it up. I can assure you that the ease of use with ChurchTrac for our online giving versus other people's online giving is the same. It's the same principle. In most cases, Wes, they're using the same merchant processor for the giving.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good opportunity, just because many of you are maybe shopping online giving providers if you're coming from another one, or maybe you've never used online giving before. Here at ChurchTrac, our online giving is made possible with our Stripe integration, and the rates for that, if you're qualified for their nonprofit pricing, which most churches we work with do, it's 2.2% plus 30 cents for credit card transactions. And we also have a flat rate. Get this, everybody, drum roll please, 25 cents per ACH transaction. I'm doing a video on this. Lori,
Yes,
I've read
are.
you the script on this video. This video we're about to do is going to paint a huge target on our back, I think, because it's going to make a lot of companies really upset. So the online giving industry is kind of a dirty industry, to be brutally honest. I'm not going to mince words here. There are a lot of companies out there, Christian companies, that unfortunately, I feel like they charge churches way too much for the
Yes, they
service
do.
they provide. And there are a lot of other good companies out there that actually charge really reasonable rates. And online giving is one of these areas that actually can cost your church the most money.
The most money.
I see so many small to mid-sized churches paying thousands of dollars a year in online giving fees when they don't need to be. And it's just by simply doing some of your research on your own, doing your homework to see, first of all, asking the question, what is our rate that we're paying for the online giving provider? Because if you're paying 2.9%, you shouldn't be.
Well, with two, Wes, ChurchTrac actually doesn't charge for online giving.
Yeah,
These
I
other
want
companies
to make this
actually
very clear. We make $0 on online giving.
Focus.
Yeah, we don't make any money. This is just an
it's a
integration with
service
Stripe.
that we
yeah.
provide because we care about your ministry. That's what it totally is.
So that's a big thing. If you want to save your church a lot of money today, even though this has nothing to do with our software, but it's still really relevant, definitely do your research on online giving and see if it's 2.9%, you should not be paying that. And if you're paying a percentage on ACH, I made the joke, and I think I still can't believe this, but many of you out there are probably familiar with like money orders, like I think Western Union, stuff like
Western
that.
Union.
And there's a cost to doing that. It's kind of expensive to do
Yes.
money orders. Many of you out there, I'm pointing at you, are paying more in your online giving fees than if you would have just had your people do a money order. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
If you do the math and you look at these percentage rates they're charging you and stuff, you should have just told your people to do a money order and you would have saved more money. So yeah, that's crazy stuff. And if anything, please just look at your online giving provider if it's not Stripe, and just see what they're charging you and everything, because you may be able to save your church hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on that. I don't know why we just got on that soapbox, but I just get really fired up, Lori, when churches are overpaying for online giving fees.
Truly.
Is ChurchTrac required for the banking option, or what level of ChurchTrac is required for banking? That's
The
just adding our
accounting
accounting.
add-on.
Yeah, so just add the accounting add-on for $15 a month. And by the way, our pricing here at ChurchTrac, if you could pull up our pricing page, Lori, just because there are some people that may be on a trial, or maybe they haven't looked at things in a while, and they're just like, hey, what does this stuff cost? Our pricing's based on two things. It's based on, number one, the name tier that you select. And so if you're wanting to add 75 people to your database, add 500 people to your database,
oh my
it's based on that. You
I
just
didn't
go
put
to our,
that. I didn't put it in the right spot.
Just go to our main website, Lori.
I was trying, but I didn't get it in the right spot. I can't see the screen.
Yeah,
it's too far away. I'm old. Sorry.
You're not old. Fun fact, a lot of people watching this right now are your age, Lori.
Praise
which means
God.
they're not old, okay? So don't call yourself old. So there's our pricing right there. So you can see, I mean, if your church is considering ChurchTrac for the first time, $9 a month is what our services start at. And if you're wanting to use our accounting, it's just an additional $15 a month. And Lori is in the process of trying to read the screen. This is really cracking me up.
It's so far. you guys think I have a computer sitting in front of me, but it's really up over there. So.
All right, this is, I think, the last big question here, and I think we're kind of done here. Income statement. Payroll taxes were set up step by step from the Help tab, and we pay taxes quarterly. Employee shares are positive amounts and on Medicare and Social Security, but employee shares are negative. How do I check accuracy?
I actually know exactly what they're talking about, so this is actually very cool.
Okay.
So here's the thing. You need to understand when you pay your $941, you're going to use 5 categories. You're going to use federal, Social Security and Medicare employee share, and Social Security and Medicare employer share. The employee share should zero out each time you pay your $941. The employer share should continue to be negative because that's what the church is covering. So that's your budgeted amount. And then the employee share, which comes out of their paycheck and that they're responsible for, is withheld from their paycheck and paid to the IRS. So while it'll be a rolling balance, it should zero out or come close to zeroing out each time you pay your $941, whether that's monthly or quarterly or however. If you are in a pickle and you need help with this, please reach out to support because we're certainly glad to get that going for you and help you understand that effectively.
Yeah. And again, just to reinforce, our support team, you create a support ticket, they will help you out. Usually about 1 business hour is our average response time. Even in the busy time right now where churches are going crazy trying to get their contribution statements and all that stuff out. But also our YouTube channel, if you're watching this live stream here, we've got so many videos that you can watch. Everything from how to use accounting to how to build a church website. We're going to be doing a live stream on that next week, and that's going to be fun.
I'm not in on that one.
No, that's going to be a great one.
I'll watch that one.
And so definitely, check out our videos there. And man, this has been fun, Lori. I love these Q&As just because I think that it's because they keep us on our toes. We
Absolutely.
Never know what we're going to
Goodness.
get. And very few companies do this. And I don't know why, because it's such a great opportunity to help our churches. And we ain't scared. We'll take the questions as they come. And the worst thing we can tell you is, hey, that's something we're going to have to divert to our support ticket system. But I think we pretty much answered everything there. So there you go.
You can't get real personal on these ways.
Well, I mean, the last thing we want to do is show off a church's books in live air. That's just not something we're going to do. But this was a lot of fun. Lori, I thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Because I know it's this busy season. It's hard to step out from all the craziness and do this. So I appreciate you stepping in. And also I appreciate y'all just taking the time to join us today. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you wanted to hang out with, these crazy people, or at least I'm the crazy person. She's the one that's sane.
It's busy season.
Yeah. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all have a great rest of your week. See ya.
Bye.